Hello, everyone. Appreciate everyone joining this coming workshop. I am Bill Cazzini. I'm currently the treasurer for Poetry Center San Jose, and I am the managing editor of PCSJ's poetry journal, Caesura. Welcome, everyone, to this masterclass and workshop on performance poetry video production. It's presented by Poetry Center San Jose as part of the 2021 San Jose State University Legacy of Poetry Festival. Closing the distance, sheltering in technologies. I hope everyone's safe and healthy and looking forward to digging into this master class and workshop. And also I want to take the time to thank all the sponsors that have made the 2021 San Jose State University Legacy of Poetry Festival, Closing the Distance, Sheltering in Technologies Festival available. It was been produced by Poets and Writers Coalition, the Creative Writing Program at San Jose State University, and Poetry Center San Jose. There are grants through Poets and Writers, and we want to thank the following groups and organizations who have made these readings and special events possible. Principal sponsors include the Associated Students and English Comparative Literature Department of San Jose State University, the Diasporic People's Writing Collective, and Read Magazine, which is the oldest continuously published literary magazine west of the Mississippi. Our co-sponsors include City Light Books, Copper Canyon Press, Naomi Press, University of Pittsburgh Press, and Poetry Flash, the literary review and calendar for the West. And a special thanks to those on the Legacy of Poetry Festival Zoom production and marketing teams who have provided invaluable support and assistance behind the scenes. So Clifton Gold, he's a special events producer in the University Advancement Office. Special shout out, thank you to Alan Sadowski, Poetry Festival's executive producer, who has put the week's events together. Thank you for all of you for giving your time and resources to make it possible for us to celebrate National Poetry Month together and hopefully close the distance during the COVID-19 pandemic. So now let's take a moment to introduce your workshop leaders this night. You got Mighty Mike McGee and Shaka Campbell. Mighty Mike McGee is a stand-up poet and storyteller from San Jose. He is the first to win both the National Poetry Slam Individual Grand Championship back in 2003 and the Individual World Poetry Slam Grand Championship 2006. He's toured very extensively through the United States, Canada, and Europe. He was appointed a Poet Laureate of Santa Clara County, or Silicon Valley, for 2018 and 2019. And Mighty Mike McGee's first collection of humor and poetry, In Search of Midnight, a great book, is available through Write Bloody Publishing. And now Shaka Campbell. He was born in London, England, grew up in America. He has been writing and performing his work for over 15 years, has performed across the globe at a number of venues and colleges, from Apollo Theater, New York, to the O2 in London. His work has been published in literary magazines, poetry anthologies, and periodicals, as well as in advertising campaigns with companies such as Nissan and Miramax Studios. He has published 2 books, the most recent of which, Stuff I Will Write More, 2019, is a 30-day collaboration of photography and poetry created as part of the NAPO, the National Poetry Writing Month, 2019. His other recent title is Tunnel Vision, Selected Poems. It's 2018. And he also recorded 2 albums, one and the other, Bloodlines, Listen Different. His most recent digital release, Skin, Volume 1, is currently available for download on iTunes, Spotify, and various other channels. I'm assuming the links to Mike and Shaka's websites are going up so you can catch all that stuff. And now let me throw you over to your professors of the evening, Mighty Mike McGee and Shaka Campbell.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ask Clifton really quick if he could put that. Could you put that card of Shaka and I back up? Is it possible for you to put that back on the screen? Because I just want to point out that never in my life before have I ever seen 2 images that were clearly 2 people trying to be each other so bad.
Absolutely.
Like we are so obviously like related somehow.
Oh,
Look
exactly.
at that, you know,
Handsome and sexy together.
Yeah,
There you
but I
go.
mean, like the glasses, the hats, the beards, you know, the like, hey, we know things because we're in our 40s, you
That's
know,
right.
like that is wow.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
yeah. Thank you, Clifton. I really appreciate it. And hey, hey, folks. So I guess so. Is it that we can we see? I want to see the gallery real quick. No
Yeah.
one has to have their camera on. You do not need to have your camera on. But I will say this. I will ask you this, folks. At some point, probably closer to the end of this workshop, we would be more than happy. Shaka and I would be more than happy to watch to give you the ability to share screen and watch any video, or you could put a link in the chat of any video of yours that you've made of you reciting your poetry, you performing your poetry, what have you. If you would like pointers or critique or anything on it, we would be happy to do that. It is not imperative, but I will say this: that we urge you, and we will put the link to the form up. I'll put it up when I am not currently talking. Um, we'll put the link up for the form to submit your poem for the Performance Poetry Video Awards, which will be held on April 30th, Friday, April 30th. So, but you have plenty of time to submit those poems. I actually have the link right here, so let me go ahead and put that in the chat there.
And while Mike is talking, I would say even if you don't, I mean, we would love to see the work as well. But if you have ideas, if you are thinking about something that you would like to submit, and you would love to, get our 40-year-old trying to be like each other's view on it, we'll be happy to do that as well. So don't hesitate.
And we wanted to keep this. We'd like to have this workshop be informative, but also conversational, to discuss, like, because so much of what we're going to be discussing really comes down to opinion too, our opinions versus the opinions of others, and so but I think that we are pretty well informed with regard to poetry and being on camera. So without any further ado, we have a question to ask, and again, you don't have to be on camera, but it would be funny if we spent this entire, the next hour and a half or so. It would be very interesting. Let's see if I can turn up my audio really quickly. It would be very interesting if no one came on camera during a video. Production workshop. So let's see here. Okay, mine for some reason wants to automatically. I think it's because I'm in an echoey room. Is that audio? Is it louder? Is it better by any chance?
Yeah, it's got louder. Yep.
Thank you. So yes, COVID screen. Yes, COVID screen fatigue. I get it. Believe me. So, so we have here our curriculum for the afternoon. So the first question that we wanted to ask folks, and you can unmute yourselves and speak if you'd like, or you can type up your responses in the chat. But we wanted to ask what your intent was. Why do you want to make a video of poetry? And what sort of video is it that you want to make for poetry? What is the intent behind your video? And I think for me, more and more over the last couple of years, as I've been to events where they are filming, and I've been to a number of events where they have filmed me and then put it on YouTube. For me, it's been a bit of an electronic business card. For me, it's been I can then point people to this one video, this footage where I felt I did a pretty good job performing my poem, and the video quality was acceptable or better. There are a lot of videos of me on YouTube that are not good. It is it is regrettable that they are not my videos, and I cannot take them down. I cannot remove them from the tube of you. So Shaka,
Yeah.
what do you have to say about that?
I would add to that. I mean, I think intent is super important, right? Because, as Mike said, there's things that you're either going to try to video yourself for your portfolio, for, if you're doing poetry professionally, you need to get your resume together and have things to submit, right? And that has to have a certain kind of quality and a certain sort of direction to it. But then there's things like, over the last year, for instance, with everything that was going on in the world, right? There were points in which I just wanted to do a sort of an internal diary, something like, and do a poem about something that just happened and capture the emotion I had at that moment. And I wanted to share it, right? And so that is not going to be, as Hollywood glitzy. It's what's that intent, right? You lose a certain type of authenticity if I'm saying this is my immediate response to this thing, and all of a sudden I've got like massive lighting and a $16 million camera. So I think that's part of why the intent is really important in understanding what is it that you want to do, why you want to take a video.
Yeah. So in the last couple of years, I picked up a DSLR, and I used to have one, but it didn't have video function. So I could only take photos with it, which was a bummer, because I really, once I realized that you could shoot 4K, you could easily make pretty decent videos with a pretty decent camera. And this is not an expensive camera. I got it from a friend who was moving and needed some money, and I got it for about $250. It's a Lumix Panasonic made camera DSLR, and it shoots in 4K. I unfortunately, of the 3 computers I own, none of them can handle 4K video. I can't, if I want to try to edit 4K video on my computer will freeze for about 13 or 14 hours. And then it will say, sorry, can't do it. Not happening. I don't have the technology for it. So I did some research and I thought, okay, well, how can I get around this? Maybe what I can do is I can wipe one of my computers so that it has nothing on it. And all it has is basically iMovie and Chrome, so that I can get online. And that wasn't going to happen because I don't have the video card for it. So I did some research and come to find out that 4K is only good for those who are going to be watching it in 4K. But most laptops that were made before, say, 2016 aren't going to be in 4K anyway. The chances of people watching it, because most of the time they're watching on their phones as it is, watching videos on their phones, they are not watching in 4K. They are watching in the next level down, or even the next level below that, 720, 1280, and that is very important to know. And it is I think it's really important for you to understand that you don't need cinematic quality in order to get a video with a cinematic feel. You don't need something that can be played in a movie theater. You need something that can be played on a small screen, or even on your television in your living room. So that was huge because I can edit 1280. I can edit 1080. It's very, very handy to be able to drop down and know that I'm not really going to lose much quality because it's going to be compressed even more when people watch it. So.
Right. And that file size is massive when you start getting to 4K, right? You start trying to move things around and send things to people. It's like, nope, that was great. I just spent 40 hours on this, and now I can't send it to anyone.
I had dragged a file from my camera's SD card. I dragged a file onto my computer. I thought, wow, that was for 4K, that was surprisingly easy. It dropped into I copied it over to my computer in like a minute, 2 minutes. I was like, that was impressive. And it was like 2 gigs, you know? And it turns out that or it was 4 gigs. And it turns out that that was one of like 16 files, and that my camera automatically, anything over 4 gigs, it automatically breaks it off into 4 gig chunks. And the file was actually like 40 or 50 gigs, you know? And I was like, oh, I see.
Won't do
And
that
so,
again.
yeah. So I gave up. I've given up on 4K until I have a brand new computer. But even then,
Exactly.
Clifton Gold has posted in the chat, 1080 all day, decent quality and manageable file sizes. Very true. The only nice thing about 4K is that you have more options to crop or use motion. True, very, very true. And there are a ton of tutorials on, if you really do want to work in 4K, there are a ton of tutorials out there on how to maneuver 4K, how to make it work for you, because there is so much that you can do with it. And it's really nice to be able to shoot wide and then say, oh, I really only need this section of the video, you know, kind of like you would do with a large photo. If you were editing and you wanted to crop out something, you can do a lot of cropping with 4K. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about 4K.
Can I ask a quick question for you guys? And this is actually kind of taking a step back, right? And I just want to make sure. Mike talked about sort of we have a almost a curriculum or so that we want to go through, but I would be really interested in understanding, before we even kind of go into it, is what do you guys also like? What do you want to get out of this class as well, right? And then even if you just wanted to put it in the chat, so that we make sure that we're adding those things into our conversations as we go down. I don't want you to feel like we missed out on something that you were expecting, or that you wanted. So it'd be great. Again, you can just put it in chat, so we know about it, or you know, come off mute and tell us. But we want to make sure that this is good for you, and you're getting what you want out of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And while you do that, I think I might as well go ahead and there's a video I want to show everyone, because what I was trying to do, I found a bunch of samples of videos that I felt really exemplified a lot of the things that Shaka and I wanted to discuss today. What we wanted to go over with regard to video poetry and performance poetry. And so I wanted to show, but what I wanted to do was I was trying to think of something in cinema, something in film, and there are a number of examples. One I can think of, it would be the film Slam with Saul Williams. I think it came out in '98, and there's a sequence in Slam where he is in jail. Saul Williams' character has been put in jail for I think it was for a petty crime or a crime he didn't commit, and there are some very tough men in the prison yard who are about to harm him, and he stops them by performing a spoken word piece, and it's really incredible, but it's not filmed as if it's this separate poetic exercise. It's filmed as if it's just it's something that's happening in his life, and the only way he can save himself is to perform a poem that really gets the guys who are about to beat him up to think, you know, and to then just sort of walk away from him like, all right, we won't mess with you, you know. And it's always stood out to me as a pretty badass sequence in a film. And then but it also shows sort of the power of poetry in the moment, you know. And I'm not going to show that to you because it's a long sequence, and I wanted to show you something that was a little bit more sort of where the cinematography was based and influenced by the poetry. And granted, this is more of a monologue than anything, but it's the opening sequence of the film Amelie. So I'm going to share that with you right now, because there is something really wonderful about sort of the storytelling, the poetic storytelling of this sequence. So I hope this is not too loud for you. Let me know if it is. Let me go to Amelie. Can you all see this?
Yep.
You're able to see YouTube? Okay. Can you hear it?
Le 3 septembre 1973, à 18h28 minutes et 32 secondes, une mouche bleue de la famille des Califoridés, capable de produire 14 670 battements d'ailes à la minute, se posait rue Saint-Vincent, à Montmartre. À la même seconde, à la terrasse d'un restaurant, à 2 pas du moulin de la Galette, le vent s'engouffrait comme par magie sous une nappe, faisant danser les verres sans que personne ne s'en aperçoive. Au même instant, au 5e étage du 28 de l'avenue Trudaine, dans le 9e arrondissement, Eugène Colère, de retour de l'enterrement de son meilleur ami Émile Maginot, en effaçait le nom de son carnet d'adresses. Toujours à la même seconde, un spermatozoïde pourvu d'un chromosome X appartenant à M. Raphaël Poulain se détachait du peloton pour atteindre un ovule appartenant à Mme Poulain, née Amandine Fouet. 9 mois plus tard naissait Amélie Poulain.
So there are more sequences throughout the film that do that, and you don't see that in a whole lot of films. I think you tend to see it in Wes Anderson films where the narration is a bit poetic. The narration is a it really kind of carries it, but then the scenes themselves, the cinematography, the set design, the stop motion of a woman becoming more and more pregnant, every part of it is adds to that poeticism. So with that, I think that and that sequence was what, a minute, and it really sets you up. You don't know exactly what you're about to see, but you know you're about to see something creative. You're about to see something interesting, and it centers around the life of a girl named Amelie. So Rebecca says in the chat that they would want to learn a new style of performance and find out if there's anything different about writing poetry for videos. Very good. Very good. Yes. And Grace says it'd be interesting to see. Oh, hi, by the way. Hi, Grace. Actually have had this, her art on this door for quite some time, all through the pandemic, as an inspiration to remember to keep artising. It'd be interesting to see if you recommend editing, adapting differently, if it's going on different platforms, YouTube, length of footage, vertical, horizontal orientation, sound bites versus depth, etc. Those are very, very interesting topic for sure.
I have a couple of others, right, that I just put up there that came directly. It was, what's the best length for various purposes? Are there any tricks to creating a sense of live during filming when one is alone talking to a dead screen? That's great. I mean, that's the Zoom world we're in now, right?
Right.
And then that's those two there.
Yeah. So I mean, I think, and Shaka and I wanted to create sort of a conversational aspect to the beginning of this workshop anyway. So I will gladly answer Rebecca's question or Rebecca's query to learn a new style of performance and find out if there's anything different about writing poetry for videos. I don't think there's anything different with the writing for videos because it really just comes down to performance. There is, and the simplest answer to that is memorization. Memorization, I think, is key. I'll give you an example. Over the last year, I've done most of my performances on video, on Zoom primarily, like we are now. And one of the issues that I came across was that I wanted to film myself as a talking head on camera, like on Zoom, but filming it so that I'm talking to the person that is going to watch it later, and sort of faking that to some extent. And so I wanted to look into the camera like a news anchor would, like anybody who's trying to talk to the person who's watching it from a different location, or at a different time. And one of the things that I ran into was that I would write whatever it was I was going to say into the camera, I would type it up. And then when it came time to say it into the camera, I couldn't look into the camera because I had to either look down at the screen to read the thing I wrote, or I had to print it and hold it up behind my computer, just above the camera, so that it at least looked somewhat like I was looking at the camera, like a teleprompter, right? And I found that no matter what I did, if it was not memorized and I couldn't look into the camera, it didn't feel natural. It just didn't, like, there was nothing I could do to make it feel any more natural. Like I could get about 78% there.
Mhm.
And then from that point, it was going to be clear that I was at least reading some of it, you know? And so I would say, Rebecca, I would say that a new style of performance, for you, maybe if you're not already memorizing your poems, your pieces, start memorizing them, you know?
Yeah.
And then when you get to the point where you do want to film them, you will be able to keep it very natural, and you won't have to have sheets of paper in front of you taking your attention away from the audience. You're not going to be sitting there looking at something and then every once in a while making sure they're still watching, making sure they're still, that, you know, making sure they know you're still connected. When you have a poem memorized, you can stay connected with the person watching.
Yeah.
So I would say the simplest answer is memorize your work as best as you can. So that way, when it comes time to filming, you flub less. You have to, your starting and stopping is diminished, and you probably end up with a slightly more natural performance, considering you're filming something to be watched by people elsewhere and later. So that's
Right.
that.
I mean, I would add to that, right? Is I completely agree with what Mike is saying, and I've tried this so many times. There's a couple of things you can do to help, you know, get you there. Like Mike said, you can get to that 70, that, you know, that 78%, and what I'm talking about here gets you to like from 78 to maybe 79 or to 80, but there's no full, you know, fledged thing. I do so much of my work off of the phone. I've written books on my phone. Done recordings and songs on the phone. So it's just because of my lifestyle that works for me. So there's apps like and we'll have it down when we get to one of the later sections, called a teleprompter, right? So you can get that on your phone, and so you're literally on the same screen. You've got the words and the script going down, and you can change the speed of it and such. So it looks like it gives a more sort of direct view to looking like you're talking directly to the camera. But again, that's not it's not perfect because it still feels a bit disconnected. You're still reading, and the biggest challenge is that the closer you are, if you're here, you know, no matter how much I try and act like I'm not reading, my eyes are doing this. Right. And so if it's a close up, they're going to see your eyes moving from side to side as well. Whereas, so you get it works a little better if you're further back, because then you can't see the eyes. However, then you're squinting because the teleprompter screen is too small.
Well, we're definitely squinting.
Well,
that's
absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
Now, the one trick that I did, I figured out recently, and I've tried this twice, but I went on Amazon and I got a really cheap projector, right? And so what I've done is I've set up the camera in front of me, facing me, in front of a wall. And then I've gotten a small, you know, I think it costs $15 or so, and I set up a projector that I could plug into the phone, plug into another phone, or plug into your computer, that projected the words on the wall, big enough such that I could step back. And then, you know, again, you're not as close to as that you're seeing your eyes move, but I can step back, I can stand up, and I can read this thing. I can also use my hands and motion because, you know, there are these massive words on the wall, right? So that's, again, it's taken it from the 78 to the 80, you know,
Mhm.
but there's nothing that will replace you being able to connect with you. And that's in, you know, that's in person and on video. There's nothing more than being able to memorize stuff.
Mhm. And keep in mind, memorization is proof of practice, right? Once you have a poem memorized, you then get to play with it. You then get to take your time with it. You know, you know the next line that's coming, so give it a pause,
Yeah.
give it a beat. You know, take your time with it. Poetry is all about making time slightly more interesting. Um, so yes, of course, Rebecca. Yeah, thank
Yes.
you. Now Grace's question, it would be interesting to see if you recommend editing, adapting differently if it's going on different platforms. Yes, I have a little bit of experience with Instagram and with YouTube. As a matter of fact, I just rejoined Instagram today because you know, it was about time, I guess. But yes. So when it comes to Instagram, YouTube, you can kind of get away with pretty much just about anything. YouTube, there's you know, even if you're going to film vertically, YouTube sort of makes up for it by creating filling sort of that 16 by 9 box for you, right? Um, but if you're looking to really put effort into your composition, know that on Instagram you can get away with in stories. You can clearly, obviously, get away with vertical. It is an acceptable form for what you're doing, but consider that composition. Consider thirds. Thirds are important anytime you're going to film anything, right? So I have a bad tendency to get up into my camera like this when I'm on Zoom. But whereas if you look at Shaka, of all the people I know, Shaka kind of sits further back than the average person, and he's really considering those thirds. Look at how perfectly the elephant and the boy and Shaka's head all line up in that middle third, right? That is really important in composition. When you see a picture, and especially of like a beach or the ocean or a sunset, or anytime you see a horizon, when that horizon is somewhere in that bottom third or up in the middle or way too high up, you can tell. You feel it. There's a natural quality to those thirds. So even with regard to vertical shooting, I would say just pay attention to thirds at least. Bare minimum, pay attention to thirds. You just have a lot more space to deal with those thirds. So and consider how close you are when you're filming. If you're going to be filming vertically, consider where your face is going to be. Do you want it to fill the screen? How emotionally invested do you want the person to be when they see you on screen on Instagram or or on YouTube? Again, I tend to sit close, and I'm actually going to show you an example a little bit later of a video I submitted to a group of poems, for a group of poems that are going to be performed through this church of a friend that I know for Valentine's Day. And I'm half happy and half bummed out by my video. But I got really frustrated and just ended up sending in something I was not terribly exactly happy with because I didn't follow my own rules of filming. Um, so when it comes to different platforms, yes, I would say that it's less about editing and adapting your editing to those platforms. I would say that it's more about Instagram has the word insta in it. It's instantaneous, it's instant, it's fast, it's quick. So keep it under a minute. Keep it short, because that's what Instagram is for. It's for swiping through. It's for scrolling through. It's for getting through it quickly. And then if something looks appealing, people will click on it, but they may not give you a whole lot of time to they might not give you a whole lot of time watching. They might not give you all of their attention if it's too long. So I would say the really adapt your time. If you're going to share it on Instagram, maybe give a snippet and say, watch the rest of it here. The chances of people actually following that are pretty slim, but I would keep it short. YouTube, you can expand. You can talk for longer periods of time on YouTube. That's for sure. And YouTube, you have the opportunity to be a lot more cinematic with your poetry, whereas with Instagram, it's going to be slightly more limited, right? It's going to probably be one shot, one angle, very little editing, if any. But it can't hurt to try. It can't hurt to edit something on your phone and really, really work on something, or edit it so that it's vertical on your computer in iMovie or another app, which we're going to get to in a little bit, and then upload it to Instagram. The more effort you put into your videos, the more people are going to notice, for sure. People are definitely going to take notice to well-edited videos on Instagram or YouTube. So whatever effort you're willing to put into it, go for it. But I would say keep it short on Instagram. Don't worry too much about length on YouTube. And when it comes to sound bites and depth, I'm assuming sound bites versus depth. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that. Do you mean like in terms of like the emotional depth of a poem versus maybe something quick and easy that's slightly more entertaining? Either way, I think that you're kind of safe on both. You're kind of safe on any platform. And remember, anything that you can post to Instagram, you can also post to Facebook. You can just sort of auto post it there. But you will pick up an audience with the quality work. You will do that. I assure you.
I'll just can I jump in really quick, Mike?
Absolutely.
And it goes right to what you were talking about and what we talked about in terms of intent, right? If you look at what the to your point earlier, the purpose of those different platforms. If you think about Instagram, right? Instagram's only going to be seen by the people that for the most part, by the people that you engage with, right? They've got to friend you or whatever the case may be. Whereas YouTube is more of this public space. You type in the right keyword, it's going to show up for folks, right? So you should probably keep that in mind when you're looking at whether, again, what's your intent? What's the level of effort that you're going to put out there? Because one is sort of a ring fenced from an Instagram perspective. The other one is a lot broader and will be seen by more people who are, specifically looking for you and or maybe looking for something that's similar to whatever you've tagged in it or etc. So it'll have more of a reach on YouTube. So that's again something to think about when you're deciding what you're going to do for what particular channel.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Then Shaka, you asked, what is the best length for various purposes?
Yeah. So this is someone in the chat. I think that they're sending directly to me. I'm copying and putting it back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'd say, honestly, best length for various purposes. I think it really depends on the poem. It depends on what it is you're saying in the poem and what your creative output is. I don't know that is a question that we can answer right now. I think it really comes down to each performance of the poem on video. I'm not exactly sure how to answer that one because it's kind of a case by case basis.
Yeah, I agree. There's times when I've written something and I've read it. I've put it in a book and then I've videoed it and put it on an Instagram, and it's just like, dude, you said that 13 times. You know what I mean? It's you don't there's in different sort of media, so to speak, you consume it differently. So that's the only piece that I could probably use to answer that, is that depending on I don't know that there's a best length. It, like Mike said, it depends on the poem, and some poems lend better to having a visual and the video aspect. Some work a lot better with just on page and written, right? So you have to take that into account. I don't know that there's a set for that, a set length.
Mhm. Um, then, are there any tricks to creating a sense of live during filming when one is alone talking to a dead screen? Um, I would say that the only trick I can think of is actually not even a trick. It's get some people in front of you. You know, they don't have to make any noise or do anything, but just having a few live bodies in front of you, or even one live body behind the camera watching you, might help, because you realize there's someone listening. There is a person listening to you. So if you can have an actual audience of any sort who remains silent so that you can film the video. Also, another way is to change the angle of your camera. Maybe not have it straight on like a talking head, like this screen right now, but instead maybe have it so that you are performing to the live people, you know, and maybe they are making noise. Maybe you have a little audience in your studio, you know, your bedroom, your living room, your kitchen, your bathroom, wherever it is you're filming. Outside, outdoors is a great place to film if you don't mind a different sort of ambient noise.
Right,
You know?
right. You know what's great about that as well is you know, some of it, again, some of that and it depends on when you say live, is it if you're talking about live, like I'm performing this in front of people, right? That's different, right? Like what Mike said, if it's live in terms of the, you know, there's animation and there's action on, you know, within the video, that can happen in editing. But the other piece of it, because you can overlay, and we saw some of it done in the introduction of this workshop today, where folks have sort of layered things on top of already, like their talking head on top of a video, a moving background, and so that kind of creates movement. But one thing that I think is a pretty simple trick and does wonders is, if you're wherever you're videoing, if you have two cameras, right? And so you have, you know, the one in front of you, and then puts the other one at any other angle, and you're just recording at the same time. You've got now two different angles, you know, recording that same sort of voice cadence and everything else. And then in editing, you can switch between two, right? And that gives it sort of this more dynamic and live experience. And you haven't done anything there except the editing and the splicing piece of it, but it's two different angles. It looks a lot professional, right? It looks like you've got two camera angles there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you don't have two cameras, did you already say that, Shaka? If you don't have two cameras, perform it twice.
No, yeah,
you
no,
know?
I didn't say that.
Yeah. So you
But that's
can,
fine.
like, if you're, because that's the next question that we were going to ask you is what sort of equipment you were using. But before I get into that, I want to say another thing that might help make something seem live is the difference between performing to a camera when you're alone in a room and performing for an audience is your face. Your face is inherently going to be different in those two environments. And what I mean by that is, if I'm performing for the camera, I know I'm alone, so I just get to be me, resting chubby face, right? Resting beard face. And so I may have more of a stern look on my face because I'm just not as aware of my face, because I know no one else is looking at my face right now. So I don't have to worry about how I feel about my face. But because I'm a pretty personable guy, when I'm in front of a room full of people, I smile more. You know, my eyebrows might be a little, you know, might raise up a little bit more. So my eyes might open up a little bit more. You know, I'm aware of the other people in the room. I'm aware of what's happening, you know. And so because of that, I tend to appear more live. So when filming, consider the poem and consider what emotion your face really should be projecting in a room of people, performing this for a room of people, because you always have to assume that is what you're going to be doing thousands and thousands of times over without you having to be there for it. You know, that people are going to click on that video, they're going to watch it, and they're going to be stoked that they did because you seemed live. You seemed like you were there, you know.
Yeah.
Think
If
about
you-
your face. Think
Yeah.
about your face.
You can't do the it's I call it integrity, but it's probably not the right word. But like, you're performing a video and it's like, I just won $14 million and my life is changed forever. Right? It's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't match.
Yeah.
Right?
That does not look right.
That doesn't match. So
Yeah.
you've got to be aware. And I think, again, it goes back to your memorization, right? It's like when you're in tune with that poem, your body starts to do things automatically,
Mhm.
right? That you're kind of emoting that poem physically as well. And that does all the changes to your face as well.
Yeah.
So that helps.
Absolutely. And granted, it's hard to do right now because we're still still socially distanced, and there are no open mics to go to. But when there are, go to them. Go to them. Hand someone go with a friend, go with a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a partner, a husband. Go with someone and hand them your phone and have them film you, have them video you while you're reading a poem on stage so that you can see what you look like when you perform. It is one of the most important things a human being can do. And I will give you an example of why that's so important. One of the very first performance poetry videos ever put on YouTube was a poem of mine. It's a performance piece. And I was so stoked because I'd never heard of YouTube. And when I went and looked for it, I found it and I was like, oh, wow, there's one poetry slam. There are 2 poetry slam videos on YouTube and mine is one of them, but YouTube was not popular at the time. So it didn't really matter. But I watched this video and I was dismayed. I couldn't believe it, this professionally shot video. And there I am, every few seconds doing this with my hands. For some reason, I would make this hand gesture to punctuate every single line. And I just kept doing that. And I don't know why. I had no idea I was doing that. None whatsoever. And guess what? I never did it again because I saw myself doing it. And so film yourself from the belly button up, at the very least. Just take your phone, start filming, and just talk for a few moments. Watch how much you stammer. Pay attention to how often you lose your train of thought or can't think of the next thing you're going to say, or you just don't have anything to say. Or film yourself reading something and then put it down, and then film yourself just reciting the lyrics to some song something you have memorized, and look at the difference between yourself reading from page and performing from memory, and look at how different you are between those 2 things, and try to make the 2 of them match. Yeah. So
I would speak fast. That was my thing. I never realized how fast I speak. Like, I kind of grew up in New York, so that's just how we speak. And I heard myself back, saw myself on video, and just like, oh my God, dude, slow down. Slow down. And you don't get that until you do that. You do that evaluation of yourself.
Yes, I agree. So I want to keep us on track here. I want you to consider what equipment you're working with. I think most of you are probably going to be filming with a phone, right? And the beauty of it is that you can film with a phone, right? You can, because the quality is exceptional. And I'm actually going to show you samples of videos that I know were shot on a phone like 10 years ago, and they are not exceptional by any means. Like, our technology has advanced so dramatically that what we can do with a phone is better than what we could do with cameras, video cameras 15 years ago. The quality is exceptional. So don't worry about it. A phone is fantastic. You can get a lot done with a phone, but I highly recommend that you invest in a tripod, even a little one. This guy is very, very small, but I can extend it so that it's about 4.5 feet high, which is great for like a sitting position. And then I also invested in this guy. before. I just dropped everything in my room. I also invested in this guy, which is one of these sort of bendable tripods, these little mini guys, and I can then bend it so that it will hook onto anything and stay there, right? So now it's yeah, I've heard all sorts of different names for these, octopods, monkey pod, yeah, but they grasp onto stuff and they're pretty great. And then this guy just holds my cell phone, and then I'm able to film stuff on the go, and I know that thing is going to stay there. It's going to stay put, and that is very important. And then another thing I would consider investing in over time is a microphone. Wow, what timing, Grace. Yes, I highly recommend a microphone, and I can't exactly tell you which microphone to get, because currently I have this guy, which is a Samson USB mic, which is what I'm talking into right now. And I always use this for Zoom because I think that the quality sounds a little bit better than if I were just using my computer mic. Your computer mic is fine, but consider that you may want to cover the space around you if you can, or create like a sort of a box that you can't see if you're filming with your computer. So that way the sound doesn't escape much past your camera. Because if it's going to escape past your phone, if you're just using your phone to record your audio, then it's also going to echo throughout the space that you're in. It's going to create more of an ambience and echo than you're probably looking for. But really consider sound. There's a couple of examples I'm going to show you in here. Now, if you can afford to invest in something a little more snazzy, what I've been doing more and more lately is using my DSLR to film in a higher resolution than I used to film in. And then I also have this guy, which is a Zoom digital recorder. And the beauty of this Zoom is that it has two mics for stereo recording. This cost me about $250. You can get less expensive ones. And this is also an older model that I bought because it come down in price. But the beauty of it is that I can then plug this in to that camera, because that onboard camera is not, or I'm sorry, microphone. That onboard microphone on my DSLR is not good. The cameras aren't made for sound. That is just kind of how DSLRs work. So I definitely recommend picking up a slightly better microphone that you can then plug into your camera. And there are ways of doing that with your iPhones, your Androids also. You can get a really good condenser mic to plug into your phones. And I recommend doing it if you want to get serious about your audio quality.
Yeah. I would add to that and I agree everything with what Mike said about the mics and condenser mics and hooking those in. What I've done sometimes is, depending on what what I'm performing, I've done a lapel mic, right? And so, but those can get pretty expensive too. But so what I've done is for an in between is I've plugged the lapel mic into a different phone, in which I'm then recording that on a better audio app. And then I'm videotaping, right? So I'm not having the phone have to work on the video and the audio at the same time. So just doing that alone, I now have two separate pieces, right? The video and audio, I then connect them, and I get much better quality out of each one of them. Absolutely. So that's another little trick there as well.
And Grace had a very good question too. What program do you record your voice? Just a voice memo is okay. Remember that very rarely does the app is just capturing the audio. So it really comes down to the microphone that you're using. It's if I'm talking to you through three sheets, you're going to pick it up, but it's going to sound muffled if I have three pieces of cloth in front of my face trying to talk to you. As we've all been talking through masks lately, you'll pick it up the same way you would pick up my voice if I wasn't talking through a mask. but it's not going to sound as good. It's the same with audio recording. It really comes down to what you're speaking through. So if you're speaking through a good mic, pretty much any audio recording program is going to pick it up as good as the mic can give it.
Right.
So yes, there is, but chances are, if you're filming on your phone and you're using a mic, your camera app is going to pick up your audio as good as you give it. So if you connect a good microphone to your phone, your cell, you will get good audio. And there are all kinds. I can't recommend one because I honestly don't know. I've so rarely used cell phone mics, attachable cell phone mics. But for $20-$30, you can get yourself a pretty decent cell phone microphone, and it will do the job.
Yeah,
I assure you.
you can also get connections, right? So you can get a microphone that's built for like a studio, right?
Mhm.
But there's adapters that will then adapt it down
Absolutely.
to your iPhone, right?
Absolutely.
So that's pretty easy. You can get on Amazon as well.
Could you also record just the audio on the mic and overlay that with the visual of you talking post-production, or live recording of both visual and audio is better? Yes. So I have recorded on that Zoom recorder. It records to a micro SD card, or just an SD card. And then I can take that SD card, put it in my computer, and then sync it up in iVideo or iMovie. I can sync it up with the video. That doesn't guarantee, one, it ends up generating massive file, and it also doesn't guarantee that it's going to be in sync. It really depends on the quality of what you're using to do all the recording. Chances are with this DSLR and with that Zoom microphone recorder, chances are they're going to sync up just fine. But I have had issues in the past. So to avoid those issues, I would recommend filming with the same app. Again, your camera app on your phone is going to record excellent audio if you have a microphone plugged into your phone for it. It's essentially going to be the same function as a voice memo app on your phone or anything else. It's going to do the exact same job, because audio recording is a very simple procedure for your phone to do. It's kind of what it's made for. So, which is why it's so great that the cameras are catching up these days. So the quality is stupendous. I want to show you all, if I could. Here's a question I want you to ask yourselves. Maybe jot this down. I hope you're all taking notes. Because we're not. Also this workshop is being recorded, and so you will have access to it at some point. I'd just like to point that out. Let's see here. Did I skip anything? No, I don't think I did. I like a lot of the suggestions. If you have any suggestions, please put them in the chat, share them with folks. Unless they're like, voting for some reality star, don't do that. So let's see. So first, what I wanted to show you was this. I have to share it, don't I? This would be so much easier if we were in person, folks. I got my second vaccination 2 days ago, and I feel great. I thought I was going to be death warmed over today, but I'm not. So it's so good to be with you, and it's so nice to know that I get to hug people soon. That makes me very, very happy. Okay, what I'm going to show you is Shaka Campbell and myself were both asked to. We were commissioned to write short poems for VTA, which is our local transit service, so we both wrote short poems and then filmed them, and it was a high quality video production. It was pretty cool, and so we thought a very a very good way of getting your video started is sort of the inception of it, right? So it would be good to storyboard. There's never been a film that has come out, except for maybe like, I don't know, Austin Powers or something like that. There's never been a film that didn't have some sort of storyboard. It's hard to sell a movie to a production studio without a storyboard. It's hard to convey all the ideas and visuals. And considering that you're taking visuals and applying them to something that also will conjure visuals, imagery, you're taking abstract imagery and you're now saying, I want to apply more than just the abstract imagery. I want to apply visuals to it as well. Is your video going to be a talking head? Is it just going to be you looking into a camera reciting a poem? Maybe, sometimes yes, sometimes no. So the poem I wrote was called Neighbor, or Thank You Neighbor, something like that. And Agrafino Edrelin was the producer on this one, and he needed to show his crew what the commercial was going to look like. It was 30 seconds long. It was a 30-second bit. I had to write a 27-second poem to the second, which was very strange. And he did this. So he created this storyboard out of essentially a spreadsheet, right? And so you have scene one, natural audio is natural bus sounds, graphics. It didn't say anything here, but I know that they did put graphics over because I'm going to show you. And then there's B-roll of the exterior of a bus, a shot of a VTA bus driving on the street. Then scene two cuts to a driver, right? And they just took stock photos off the internet and threw them in here, you know. That was the easiest way to do it. Then Thank You Neighbor. And then he broke down my poem so that you saw what was going to happen during each line of the poem. And then so it's shots of people interacting and talking on the bus. For Your Smile, when I didn't know I needed it. And then shots of various people interacting and smiling, right? And look at how happy all these people are, right? This is clearly done in 2019. Then for that knowing nod that tells me you know nothing about me. It was so weird to see my poem broken down like this. And then all of a sudden it's Mike McGee is walking to the front of the bus, talking to the camera. And there I am in the year 2049, right? Looking good. Finally saying to myself, it's time for a turtleneck because I've given up on beards, right? But maybe you know everything that will keep our, you know, and then B-roll, shots of various people interacting, smiling, moment, moving, and our movement momentous, and then like young high school students enjoying a moment on the bus. And you'll notice when I show you the video that most of this doesn't happen. A lot of it does not happen. And then a moving dolly shot of people interacting on the bus. And then Mike McGee is walking to the front of the bus, talking to the camera, which does happen. And then I walk in front of the bus talking to the camera. That does not happen because where we were filming was just in a parking lot for VTA. So now I'm going to go over and show you that video. Where is it? Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. Boom. And then we're going to watch Shaka's. Mm-hmm. And the reason I wanted to show you this was because it is, and I apologize for commercials. I won't pay for YouTube. But what I liked about this was that it is so short. It's 30 seconds long, and it conveys exactly.
Thank you, neighbor, for your smile when I didn't know I needed it. For that knowing nod that tells me you know nothing about me.
What's up, Shaka?
You know everything that will keep our moment moving and our movement momentous. Thank you for not stopping, for your gift of presence that keeps me moving. Now tell me, what moves you?
So, I mean, I feel like that was like, I did nothing. I wrote a poem literally the day before. Literally the day before, memorized it. I was still studying it. I think my notepad is actually in that pocket in my shirt, and I'm like reading it frantically beforehand. I'm exhausted because I didn't get much sleep the night before. But that's the beauty of video and you know, smiling. Honestly,
Yeah.
the beauty of video and smiling is that no one will know you're tired.
Right.
No one will know that you just memorized that thing for that moment. I just needed to get it down once really well. And that was probably take number 4, probably, but it felt good though. It was really cool to walk on the bus and get to do that thing, especially being somebody who rides the bus like crazy. Well, not in a year, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
I would be good. The other piece with that is that, when you're using a video, right? Video is also in this spectrum. It's about augmenting your poem, right? It's
Mhm.
adding a new dimension to it and giving people the ability to add a couple new senses to the
Absolutely.
work.
Absolutely.
So that's where it does it there. But then also, don't get scared by the long storyboard that Mike had to do for a 23-second piece, right? That was broken out by poem. But just similarly, you can do when you start looking at storyboarding your own work.
We're made up of energy.
Stanzas. That's okay.
Mhm.
You can do it in stanzas, right? You don't have to do it in every word, but it's how can you augment your work better?
Right. Now, I don't know how many of you are going to fly a drone over the city of San Jose, but you could if you wanted to. I think it makes for a really nice intro, especially. But I will say that what I like about Shaka's VTA commercial is that it's going to sound bad, but he's not performing in it. And that's not, and I don't mean it in that way. He is in he is in the commercial. I also love the fact that he's in mine too. But what I mean by that is that it's more about, it's almost more about the imagery, because of what Shaka is saying. Like I would have loved a commercial with Shaka performing to the camera. But I think this one works. I don't want to talk about it.
No, wait, let me just say one other thing before you start. I mean, part of that is, again, if you look at the title of this, right, it was The Journey. So it wasn't so much about me.
Right.
So that's the other excuse here to me not memorizing my poem, was that, it was about the journey. So the focus was on that. Whereas Mike's was like this smile, right, which is very personal, right?
I needed to smile to the camera because I'm saying, thank you, neighbor.
Right.
That was the whole point of that poem, was that I ride the bus all the time, and they really wanted to make VTA friendlier, and I was like, okay, the only way to make this friendlier is to literally say, hey buddy, get on the bus, let's go somewhere, and then the journey, it makes sense. And this commercial really says it.
We are made up of energy, moving, colliding with each other, with our surroundings. And as the world changes around us, we move. I move. People move so fast that they miss the journey. Blended cultures stitched together with life. So when I need to reconnect, I move while not moving at all, taking it in, all this beauty, and savoring in the journey. But that's what moves me. What moves you?
See, I want to
We're
watch
made
it
up of
again.
energy.
No, I'm just kidding.
Move,
I'm just kidding.
colliding with each other, with our surroundings. And as the world changes around us,
I can't pause it until it minimizes. All right. So I think you all get the point. We didn't film those. Those were not done on cell phones. Those were done on very large cameras. But that is not to say that you can't achieve something close to that. That is not to say that if you put the work into that, it will pay off. It really will. And what you can do with just your phones, you don't need to go out and buy a whole lot of gear. You honestly don't, because what will end up happening is that you'll get so good with your phone. You will either be happy and satisfied with that, Or you will go to another level and you will say, this is not good enough for me. I need to expand. I need to broaden my abilities, my capabilities, with equipment, and maybe even with more learning. Right.
Right. To throw something in really quickly, Mike, there is that, the other thing is that even with your iPhone, when you're doing this stuff from an editing perspective, Mike talked about the drone, right? You can go to apps like VidLib or stock photos, right? And you can purchase some use of some of their images, their videos, pictures, and things like that are sort of more professionally done and like a drone shot, and add that into your video, right? So you can like make up the difference, with purchasing, and they're not that expensive, right? You can sometimes buy a video clip for $2.50 or so. So so there's opportunity there.
And I don't know how it was for you, Shaka, but seeing both of those gave me such a huge insight as to what I could do with a video poem.
It's so practical. Yep.
So practical. And it was, I mean, those also aired around the Bay Area on TV. So it was kind of like, it was also neat to have people say, oh my gosh, I saw your poem on TV. I saw your poem on television, and it was, people were stoked for that to just come on in between episodes of, Modern Family,
Right.
and so it was, but it's also a testament to the fact that if done well, people will pay attention to poetry. They will watch a poetry video gladly. Let's see. So what I wanted to, the next thing we wanted to get into was sort of high production versus authentic. All right. So some of you are probably familiar with Andrea Gibson. I wanted to share this poem with you. They have a lot of poems on YouTube. They are very popular on YouTube, as a number of poets have become. And they, but a lot of their videos, let's say half of them are just them performing live in a venue to a raucous crowd. And then the other half of their videos are what I'm about to show you, this level of quality. And I will share the screen now. And I want to get through a number of poems with you and sort of break them down a little bit here and there. I'm only going to show snippets, basically the beginning 30 seconds.
In the 5th grade, I won the science fair with a project on climate change that featured a papier-mâché ozone layer with a giant hole through which a papier-mâché sun burned the skin of a Barbie in a bikini on a lawn chair, glaciers melting like ice cubes in her lemonade. It was 1987, in a town that could have invented red hats, but the school principal gave me a gold ribbon and not a single bit of attitude about my radical political stance, because neither he nor I knew it was a political stance. Science had not yet been fully framed as leftist propaganda. The president did not have a Twitter feed starving the world of facts. I spent that summer, as I had every summer before, racing to the forest behind my house down the path my father called the old logging road to a meadow thick with raspberry bushes whose thorns were my very first heroes, because they did nothing with their life but protect what was sweet. Sundays, I went to church, but struggled to call it prayer if it didn't leave grass stains on my knees. Couldn't call.
Okay, so a couple of things I want to break down here. Remember, you can cast your video, right? Neither of these two people are Andrea Gibson. None of them. None of those trees are Andrea Gibson. Andrea Gibson, I don't think, appears in any part of this video, but their voice is very clear, very upfront. The music is there, and it helps to carry any of the silence between the words. But Andrea is up front. Andrea's poem is up front and in focus. And then you have this sequence, which is not saying any part. The visuals aren't saying any part of the poem itself, other than sort of any mention of playfulness in Andrea's words also seems to show up in this scenario, right? So I wanted to show you that one. So that's sort of very high production, right? I don't know what type of camera they were using. I don't know. But this is more of an Earth poem. This is a kind of an Earth Day sort of poem made last year, which tomorrow would be a great day to play this video, by the way. And so there's that poem, and then I wanted to show you. I can't get this window too close. There it is. Okay. Let's see. And then I wanted to show you this one. Because again, if you do a search for Andrea Gibson poems, you will see that level of quality or live versions of their poems or audio. Now, all Andrea had to do was probably go into a studio and record them performing that poem. And then they overlaid it over that video. I doubt Andrea did it themselves. Now, this is from that Talking Head video I was telling you about, where a bunch of poets, folks that I know, all submitted poems for our friend who is a Unitarian minister. And he asked us to send in a poem for Valentine's Day. This poem I'm about to show you is by Mackendy Phil Ami, who is a really phenomenal poet. And this comes down to authenticity, because it is the exact, in terms of video production, it is the exact opposite of Andrea's poem, right? And I think you'll see what I mean. It's as zoom can get. This is the transition. Apologies.
Hey guys, Mackendy here. I wanted to share a poem with you guys about New England specifically, because that's where I'm from, like Sam, and just love a little bit. So this.
I want everyone to sort of notice sort of the washed out video. The lighting is just kind of flat. There's not a lot of depth between Mackendy and the wall behind him. But the poem is there.
This is called Another Pile of Snow Forms. Another pile of snow forms in the driveway. Winter has arrived, walking into New England like a wrestler enters the ring. A bell opens its copper mouth, announcing what we already know. Autumn is over. The seasons have passed each other like workers at a change of shift. Autumn says, goodbye. The change earned this season in its pockets. It walks towards a bus stop marked Equinox, passing Kuro Okami kiss squalls that have entered our neighborhoods. None of this is new. We know of winter's religion, the frigid hymn in its mouth, a prayer that urges us to don parkas, to mouth weathermen prophecies, but hope for change. Sometimes there is no comfort in familiarity. Knowing the pain of a root canal will not make walking into a dentist's office easier. A second entrance into anguish simply means we get to bypass shock, its reintroduction a formality. On Earth, a cloud passes by, a gunmetal piñata floating in the night, mouth agape, spilling deja vu pale confetti that tries to enter our window, but fails against glass. Forced to change plans, it resolves to be a flat, frosted hillside we walk our fingers across each morning. We know the blizzard will be belligerent. We know the sidewalks will forget themselves for weeks, their hands passing through ivory locks, scratching their scalps, trying to walk through the unplowed streets of memory. Their mouths aching from each attempt at recollection, only changed by heaven's crepuscular leak, by sunshine's slow drip entering the world again. You and I have each been that storm, have entered desire like a nor'easter with frostbit passion, have knowingly carried the weather of a foreign place, never thinking that change was possible, the heart no more than a drifter lost in the tundra of its past. But our love is snow melting. It is flower buds opening their mouths to greet the sun. It is a cub learning the freedom of walking. It is the choice to walk away from hurt, to change direction, to enter potential and leave ruin in the past. Our love is a mouth opening to sing a song we already know.
So I would like to just point out, I'm just going to go back really quick and point out that the poem is about the oncoming winter. The winter is coming, and I'd like you to listen to the background. This sort of fades in.
Which simply means we get to bypass shock. It's reintroduction of formality. On Earth, a cloud passes by. Only changed
that
by
hiss in the
heaven's
background
quick
is his radiator coming on in New England. And I just love that. I love the fact that his radiator came on. Like, he couldn't have planned that. I mean, maybe he did, you know, it's just a very subtle thing. But I would like to point out that the poem stands out. His voice stands out. He's close to, I don't know what he's using to record on. I'm assuming he's using his computer potentially. But I love the poem and I love his performance of it. I think it's exceptional. And I mean, he's just a very good poet. But there is something, there's something about Mackendy and the fact that even though that video is mediocre, the quality of the video is mediocre, he's there. He really wants to read this poem to you. He really wants to share this poem with you. And he's happy to share his love of New England. And having lived in New England near him when he was starting out with poetry, I can attest to his love for it. So as a talking head video, as a really sort of like, you know, kind of throwaway talking head video, I think he did well with that, considering. And he probably did one take and then submitted it, you know, because that's what he did. He's not into video production. So I would say that if you have a good poem, it almost doesn't matter how good the quality of your video is, as long as it comes through, right? But we're here today to sort of discuss the opposite of that, making good videos, right? One of the things.
Can I just add to that really quickly, Mike? Is you know, it's to your point about, you know, the poem going out, right? Two great and phenomenal poets, and it's almost like the authenticity that we talked about before, right? And what your intent is, because great, you know, the first one was like I ate a bowl of strawberries, right? And I got the great strawberry taste. And then this one, I ate one strawberry and got a fantastic taste from the one strawberry, right? So it's just that full versus the authenticity. That's what kept coming to mind, right? Great poems coming through, but what was your intent, right? What did you want out of it? And both came through, but just in different ways.
One of the things, yes, Jane says, yes, but I believed he practiced reading it quite a bit as his pauses and inflections were key. Yes, Jane, I do agree with you. And I will say too, that he's a performance poet. And so there's no doubt in my mind that he likely practiced that beforehand. I also apologize for this. My camera tends to not get very much light if I'm not in the right position. So I apologize if I come off very dark, because we're actually going to talk a little bit about lighting too. We don't have a whole lot of time left. And I feel like, I know Shaka and I sort of planned a lot, but I love gabbing. And Shaka, you never have to say, I want to I just want to like add to this. Just jump in and say, all right, Mike, I'm going to talk for the next 20 minutes.
No, it's all good. You know? It's all good.
So yes, so he practiced. And Jane, to clarify, just because it's not a coincidence, the last line in both of Shaka's and my videos for VTA were the same. What moves you? Is that what it was? What moves you?
Yeah. What moves you?
That was the theme of the commercials. So they came to us and they were like, the theme is what moves you. So that's kind of what we based our poems around.
Right.
And the idea is that we were going to end our poems with the same line. So I'm sorry if I destroyed any of the sort of mystical magic of it, but that's why we came together on that one. So, okay. So next I just wanted to show you search results. One of the more fantastic performance poets that I know of, Rudy Francisco, is just an incredible performer, a very nice human being, runs a lot of really great poetry programming and events in San Diego, and is a slam champion, has just done a lot. And I just wanted to kind of go through and show how photogenic he is and how smart button poetry is to I didn't want to click on that, but how smart button poetry is to film him from a profile. I mean, he's very handsome, but to change it up a bit, to get different angles is really key. And I wanted to just show you don't have to be facing the camera. And I also highly recommend, I'll go ahead and put this search query in the chat, because I highly recommend that you just put that in your browser, just click on the search query and then go watch whatever you can of Rudy's, because they're all very good. This video here is 8 years old, and it's probably the lesser quality of most of his videos. The angle and lighting on this one is very interesting. I wouldn't say that it's something I would choose, but I do think that it works. It adds sort of it's just different, That's a great shot right there of just that photo. And again, that angle is really good. And then there's Rudy on the Tonight Show. Yeah, that's pretty cool right there. Why he only has 214,000 views, I'll never know. Probably because people saw a poet in there and we're like, nah, I'm good. Getting into the bad poetry area of YouTube. All right. So,
and you know what? I mean, I've known Rudy, that one that said 1.2 million. I knew Rudy when he was getting 1.2 people, right? Yeah. So to see his, to see where he is now is incredible. Yeah. But one of those things is because he's so he's so authentic. He's so he's so at home on that stage, right? He's not sort of, here's a poet that came to the stage and now I'm doing a performance. It's like,
right, exactly.
It's all of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so all of that comes out in his videos, and you can see it.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. This next video that I want to show you, I don't even want to show you the whole thing. I'm just going to share just a snippet of it so you can see, because I want to compare and contrast with another video of the same performer. So most of you have probably seen this video, OCD by Neil Hilborn. It's a really good nearly 3-minute poem. It's very good. It's very sweet. It's got 15 million views, 15.5 million views because of the poem. Because I'll tell you, it's certainly not because of the quality of the video itself. This was filmed in 2013 at I want to say it was at a, competition? Was that a poetry slam? I don't remember where. I don't remember which poetry slam, but it's old now comparatively, but very popular. And I just want you to see the quality of the video itself. It's okay. It's fine.
The first time I saw her, everything in my head went quiet. All the tics, all the constantly refreshing images just disappeared. When you have obsessive compulsive...
I'm just going to skip ahead.
When she said she loved me,
this is the same shot. At least it's angled so you can see his arms moving.
She's opening a safe, kissing her. I can't breathe because he only kisses her once. He doesn't care if it's perfect.
If you've not seen this poem, it's very good. OCD, Neil Hilborn. It is a very good poem. It's a very good performance, but the lighting it's in a room with fluorescent lighting. He's performing in a slam competition. So he really wants to win his bout, and that's where a lot of that passion is coming from, because it's not just performance poetry, it's competitive performance poetry.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the difference. His intensity is there for a reason, and that reason is money.
Right.
I'm kidding. But this video did like probably put a small down payment on something for him, I'm sure.
Right.
Or at least for Button Poetry, it did.
The other piece is that like this, he stepped up and did this poem right after someone got up 2 seconds before him.
Yeah.
Right. So part of that is I need to wipe out your head the person you saw before, so that now it's just me. And, so all of that is in there. But to Mike's point, it's basically a flat, lighting situation. And look at the views.
It didn't stop BuzzFeed from spreading it around. It didn't stop people from sharing that poem, So you can, your videos don't have to be perfect. The quality doesn't have to be exact. But the more it is, the more it'll stand out.
In second grade, we did an experiment with static electricity. We rubbed balloons on our heads and stuck them to walls
Now,
and kissing you.
This video is a couple of years later. Neil knows he's very popular at this point. His performance feels a little less into it and a little more theatrical. Now, I am projecting, okay? I'm definitely adding my theories to all of this, all right? But it's pretty much the same angle. It's pretty much the same quality, maybe slightly better video quality, but it's not, it's missing a magic that OCD had. If you watch this video, I'm not going to show you the rest of it. And there are plenty of other videos for you to see of Neil's, and he is a very good performer. But he was not like, he just performed a poem in a poetry slam and it went viral. He didn't plan for that. And I feel that, and this is part of video poetry production. If you're planning to be famous through video poetry, good luck. It's a crapshoot. I don't know that you can plan for it, but I don't think you can expect it. Right. And I think that with every video Button Poetry put out of Neil's after that, there was sort of that hope that this next one will also go viral. This next one will also go viral, and you can see that a lot of the videos they do with Neil, and they did some professional productions with him as well, with lots of bells and whistles. And you can find, if you search for him, you'll see some really great quality videos of Neil's. But they don't stand out because when it comes down to it, what everyone really wants the most is a really good fucking poem, So I think that's that. I also wanted to point out a couple of lighting things. Denise Frohman's Dear Straight People has some of the most interesting lighting. I don't know if it's the show, if that's a standard, but it's really interesting because it's clearly done a while ago. This is several years ago. And the venue just they did it this way, and it's the Women of the World Poetry Slam, and
Dear Straight People,
and they are in front of some blinds with like kind of a spotlight shooting up at them from two different angles.
You know that makes me uncomfortable. Now we both uncomfortable.
But the angle is kind of cool, little cockeyed.
We stay in the closet. You're the reason we even have.
The quality of the video is pretty good. When you can see the fabric that well on somebody's clothing, that's a pretty good resolution.
Dear Straight People, sexuality and gender, two different things combined in many different ways.
I personally am not a fan of shadow happening in front of their face.
Why are you fascinated with discovering gay rappers?
But
just like gay people ride bikes and eat
it should give you some ideas.
Dear straight people, I don't think God is a sexual orientation. Or straight should be a dope ally. Why?
So there's Denise Frohman's video, which is also Button Poetry. Now I'll give it up to Button Poetry. They've made video poems something people want to do. Like they've really helped to sort of bring it to a bit of mainstream. Let's see. And then there was at least one more. Okay. Now we're getting into methodology. And so I want to show you, I use this one as I call this like a mini movie, high production poem as a mini movie. I'm going to say turn down your volume because I don't know that I can control it on this end. I'm disappointed in how unnecessarily loud this poem gets. I don't know this person, this poet, Clayton Jennings. But I just wanted to show you sort of it starts off like a movie, and then kind of ends up feeling a bit more like a rap video to some degree. It's definitely got a music video vibe. And I'm just showing you this as an option. It might give you some ideas, maybe not this idea, but some ideas in general. I'm only going to play it until it's, I'm only going to play it while it's bearable. All right.
Welcome, everyone. Every
And
time
the
you
acting
walk
is
through these
atrocious.
doors, you're taking steps to find yourself. Remember, this is a safe place. There's no judgment. You are accepted right where you're at, and wherever that leads, to find your own peace and happiness. Feel free to express yourself, to release your anxiety. I want you to be able to walk out with inner strength to finally be free.
Okay, maybe not atrocious, but
Clayton, it's great to have you back. I know you don't like to share, but why don't you start us off tonight? We want to hear what you have to say.
remember, she said, I know you don't like to share. Casting.
I wake up, puddle of sweat. I have nightmares and I get back into bed. It's like these voices just keep playing on repeat in the back of my head. I can't get them to leave me alone. 30 years old, but still hates being alone when I'm home, because that's when the voices get the loudest. Opening up like this is a moment far from my proudest. But these demons keep pressing me, I swear they're the foulest. But I've grown comfortable with their presence, my conscience is calloused. My dreams are their playground, my thoughts are their palace. I try to evict them, they return with more. Anxiety isn't an item you can return at the store. I was 10 the first time I had a...
Okay, sorry. I can't. The quality is fantastic, the video, but it is
Epic
not
movie.
not my style of poetry by any means. Yeah, but very well shot. And I liked the idea that he is performing for an audience of people who are literally there to listen. Jane, you said you've seen that one. Is it the one I just played? Is that the one you're talking about, Clayton Jennings? Yeah. So I think that's the last video I want to share with y'all. So I just wanted you to really consider lighting, consider, there was one last one. And then we'll I'd like to take some questions and we'll kind of go over some apps with you too. And if anybody has to leave, we fully understand. We only had you commit to a couple of hours. Do you recommend having music in the background like Clayton did, or just the spoken voice? You know what? It really depends on the poem and the music. Do they fit? I think if you've never seen Shane Koizan's To This Day, it's an animated piece, a very well viewed piece of spoken word. Shane Koizan, I'm typing it into the chat right now. Shane Koizan and his poem To This Day. If you get a chance, check that out. It's animated and it's his voice. It's his band, Shane Koizan and the short story Long. And that poem, the poem would be fine without the band. But I don't think the video would. I think the video would be, it requires the band. It requires the music that goes with it. But the poem alone is beautiful. It's lovely and very well written. But with visuals that don't include Shane or the band as animation, it's a really inventive piece. They had what they did was an animation school in Canada, or maybe it was in Canada, it might have been in the US. They asked Shane if they could animate his poem. And he said yes. And so what they did was every student, about 50 students or 100 students, got 5 seconds of the poem to animate. And so the animation changes like every 5 to 10 seconds. And it's brilliant. It's really brilliant.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it would work without the music. So, what I would do, I went back and I was listening to a couple of old tracks off of an album I put out several years ago. And I'm so mad at myself because I rushed a number of things. And one of them was, a couple of the tracks, I put music to it that didn't need it. Or it was the wrong music for it. So,
I'll just add, because I've done a lot of stuff in the house music sort of genre, right? And so it's poetry and it's poetry and it's house music. I think all of it, it all can blend well with music, poetry, and video, but you have to make sure that you have the right balance, right? Because too much music, you can't hear the words. Too much poetry, then the music just seems not like noise, and then you have the video doing some weird stuff. So if you are going to add anything like music to it, you just have to make sure that there's a balance. And like we said, what's the most important part of that? If there's music, video, and poetry, what is it that you're trying to highlight, right? And in most cases are not, you're trying to highlight the poetry. And so you have to make sure that that's what's standing out, and your music is augmenting the poetry and or the video, and the video is augmenting the poetry. It's a really hard balance to create. It's what the places where I've had the best success is where the producer or the musical person builds around the poem, right? So you've given the person the vocals, or you've worked with the vocals, then they build the music around it, because then the essence of the work is preserved, and the music comes to augment it. But when you do it the other way, you then start to certain things get rushed or slowed down or whatever, and then you start losing the integrity of the poem in the first place, and that's the core of what you want to bring across.
Rebecca had to go, so I wanted to just reiterate too that with everything that we're discussing here, I would like to remind folks to consider submitting a video poem to the Video Poetry Awards. And I just put the link in the chat for that. You made a very good point, Shaka, and a lot of very good points with that. And I feel like one of the things I was happy with that album was that I recorded a lot of things outside, and I allowed for ambient noise. I allowed for train whistles in the background. I allowed for, a car passing by, what have you, because that's the vibe I was going for that album. It's not going to work for everybody, and not everybody's going to want to listen to that. So you have to consider the fact that you're creating a sonic environment that is not going to be for everybody, and so it has to be for you first, right.
Exactly.
It has to be for you first.
Yeah, your purest poem, I always say, like, especially when you're a performance poet, I feel, and this is my opinion, I feel like your purest poem was the first poem you did the first time you stood on stage and did it. And Absolutely. That's only because once you've done it, now you've experienced the audience. You know what applause sound like. And regard whether you like it or not, it's going to find its way in your next poem that you're writing, and so on and so on and so on. Not a terribly bad thing, but I'm just saying,
right.
You're affected at that, after that moment.
I'm putting our list of apps. Most of these Shaka provided. This is the list of apps that can help you. I downloaded Storyboarder to check that out. So there's two ways of doing it. There's Storyboarder, which is a bit of a large program. It's about half a gig, and it's and it runs hot if you have an old computer like I do. But you can draw your storyboards. You can make an animatic, which really is all your storyboards sort of in motion, right? Moving to each scene. And Storyboarder is really cool. It's free. It works on Macs, Linux, and Microsoft. And then the other version of storyboarding that I also enjoy is called Paper and Pen, and that one always works.
Nice.
But Shaka and I both agree that a storyboard will help you, because one of the things that, and we were discussing this recently about how you have a poem and you know what the visuals for that poem are, but you've never actually made those visuals. You've never made them you've never drawn them down, And once you do, like I've always sort of pictured a little mini video. I have this poem. It goes like this, because I have a romantic affinity for graveyards, right? And so I have this little mini poem. It goes like this: Let us lay in a graveyard, 6 feet above those who have lived their lives to the exact fullest. Let us be like them, with our eyes to the sky and our backs turned against the world. That's it. That's the whole poem. Very short, very little. Too big for a haiku, too little for publication. So the thing about storyboarding, so I storyboarded it for the first time today, that little poem. The poem's called Layabout. And I drew two people standing there, hey, let us lay in a graveyard. And then I drew a graveyard. And then I was like, 6 feet above those who've lived their lives to the exact fullest. I don't know how to draw that. I don't know what that looks like, but it was cool because it forced me to come up with an image for it, And then I pictured, let us be like them, right? Those who've lived their lives to the exact fullest. So the exact fullest, they've lived their lives to the exact fullest. What do those two people look like? They probably look like two very old people because they're almost gone. They've lived their entire lives. So two old people holding hands, kind of like the first two people, like me and my partner, me and my lover, right? Stick figures because I suck at drawing fast. And then I was like, let us be like them. And so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll show them in bed, right, as an old couple laying in bed. And then the next image, with our eyes to the sky, boom, shot of the sky, and then with our eyes to the sky and our backs turned against the world, and it cuts to me and my partner laying exactly like the old couple, but in the graveyard, like it's the same shot, it's just overlaid with us now, and like fall leaves are blowing around and it's clearly nighttime, and we're just like laying in a graveyard being like, hating the world or whatever, but I hadn't come up with any of those visuals until I storyboarded it, right. Until I put it down on paper. I was like, what will it look like? If I were to actually make a video of this, what would it look like? The video would be 15 seconds long. Yeah. So guess what? I want to make that video now.
Right. Yeah.
I'm so stoked because now I know exactly how it'll look.
Yeah. It's a challenge and an adventure, right? Because you have to, when you're writing the poem, you have the freedom to create whatever you want, right? Mm-hmm. The cat walking on the moon, blah 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 blah. You then get down to video. It's like, how the hell am I going to do a cat? So now you have to even, you dip into your creativity even more, because now you have to figure out, well, how am I going to represent that? What's that metaphor look like from a image and visual perspective? And that's part of what we're talking about when we say, it augments, right? The video is augmenting what you're doing in your poetry.
Absolutely.
And I'll just jump to some of the we said storyboarder, iMovie, I think, you know, most of you have used iMovie before. The last revisions of it are pretty cool in terms of what you can do and putting things in the forefront and the background, you know, changing color. I use the iPhone, the app for it. That does great work. Power Director does a lot of good things in terms of you being able to overlay and move things out. And it's just more of a sort of a more advanced editing tool. But again, it's on your phone. It's pretty self-explanatory. Once you get it, you can do some amazing things with it. Teleprompter is what it says. It's a teleprompter you can do on your video. Movie pick, video play. I mean, the one thing I would love to say about the Clips one, Clips is a pretty simple app that's on your iPhone, right? And does the same thing as iMovie. But the great thing about Clips is that you can record something, bring it into Clips, and then record it again, but you can sort of zoom in and out of that same piece and then save that recording. So I don't know, Mike, can you click on that just for a second? Because it's a short piece on the one that says Clips.
Yeah, hold on one second. Oh yeah.
Hopefully it opens.
Oh yeah, because you shared it with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. It just opened to my drive, but it didn't.
It's not opening. Let me see if I can pull it up really quickly and then try and share my, there it is. Let me see.
And while Shaka's opening it up and sharing with us, I wanted to say, get out there and start filming. Ooh, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Get out there and start filming. Grab your phone. Really start to learn the camera function on your phone. Really get to know it intimately. And then if you're, even if it's just a shot of you talking over footage of flowers waving in the breeze, just start making little videos, post them on Instagram, see what people have to say about them, go simple, but go.
Exactly.
Get out there. Use whatever equipment you have. If you have a laptop, the beauty of laptops is you can pick them up and take them somewhere. Yay! They can go with you. They are a cumbersome but effective video camera. If you're not so worried about quality and you just want to get your videos filmed and you want to be able to take those files and send them to someone, you can always record with Zoom. I've made a couple of videos using Zoom because it compresses the video file small enough to where emailing it is very easy. Sending it but through a phone is very easy. Usually makes these small videos. Okay, sorry, go ahead, Shaka.
That's okay.
Carry things like how roots hold a redwood.
Again, this is just one
palms of my grandfather's.
One film.
Cane and soil rung into his fingertips. Love hidden in his calluses. Right. These hands hold things like.
I took the initial video that I had, brought it into Clips,
smiles,
and then started, moving it.
Not always hands,
but I don't know if I'll do more other stuff with it.
I really like how stylistic it is.
Yeah. And that's a clip thing as well. But you see this again where I start.
Yeah.
And this coming down, literally just was me, using your two thumbs and your fingers to stretch it out.
Cane and soil run into his fingertips.
The video was, go ahead and scroll all the way toward the end, right? So that's the frame that you started with, right?
Right, exactly.
And then you went in and you, with your thumbs and your forefinger, you just pinched it out, or pinched it in or what have you. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, one of the questions before was how do you create and make something live, right? Mm-hmm. That's something within the same video that I gave it some motion, and all of that was done post. Filming it. So that was
it really it's exploration. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of cinema in the first place, is that it is all exploration. We can give you a whole bunch of different ideas, but that's all they are. They're really just ideas. It comes down to you writing the poem and you figuring out how to perform it. And that's also something that Shaka and I can help you with too. We've given you a number of performance tips, especially on video. And I think it really just comes down to experimenting. You know, you have the tools. You already have a phone or a computer, because clearly we're here. You know, and with that, you can do a lot. You can really accomplish quite a bit of footage. Real quick, I do want to share one last thing with you. And it was that talking head event that I was a part of, where we did, we submitted videos, and I showed you Mackenzie's video. So I'll just go back to that one. I want to show you mine because it's in this room, but I think I want to say I used my cell phone for this one. And again, it's me getting too cozy with the camera. So everybody did a talking head video because
increasingly
that's the vibe that we all felt.
Romances are centered around misconnected.
So here's me, and for some reason
when
I'm
I change
like,
colors in the fall,
I'm in your face,
saying hi,
and I'm mad about it.
We like your face, Mike.
I like my face too, for the most part, but come on, not this close. But I think what I was trying to do is that I thought, oh, it's an intimate poem. I'm telling a lover how I want to spend the rest of my life with them, you know, and so I'm trying to be intimate. So I come in close.
Stand there.
And so I didn't really need the hooray in the background, but I definitely positioned it that way. And I thought, okay, well, I got the depth, right? Because you want some good depth between you and whatever's behind you. That's how you create. That's how you create sort of a really solid focus, right? It also helps your camera to focus on the thing that's closest to it, and so especially if you're using autofocus. Which most phones do. So I think I'm using my phone on this one, my older phone. I have a newer phone now. This is one, I won't even play the video. It's fun. The poem is fine, but she's a bit close to her bookshelves. And so everything sort of just gets blended in. It's sort of all very, very two-dimensional, you know? And it's strange that our brains seek that three-dimensionality. This is not the best quality video, but you get that third dimension. The problem here is that he's off center a little bit to where it auto focuses on his background more than it does on him. So he seems flat while everything behind him seems a little bit more in depth. So just watch out for that. Again, Mackenzie kills it with a sick poem, even though it looks like somebody's wiped Vaseline on his screen, on his lens, but his poem kills it. Maybe this is April Ranger, fantastic poet, fantastic poem. She smiles a lot in her poem. She also looks like maybe somebody's like stabbing her in the leg. But her poem is delightful. It's very sweet. And she's very close to the camera, but she really seems like she's there with you because of her facial expression. She's so close to the camera that you can't tell how far away her background is, so it kind of doesn't matter. It's all going to be washed out anyway. So just really consider that if you're doing some talking head stuff. If you can, bust out the Rudy Francisco vibe and film at an angle. Film even if you're talking to the like. Why can't people do this more often? Like, hey, what's up? How you doing? How you doing? What's up? What's up, people watching me later on YouTube? How's it going? All right. Like let's get some different angles. Let's put our camera somewhere else. Like, oh, dang. Like some 12 Monkeys action, I think that's it. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm not going to share any more videos. It's already 7:10.
Yes,
We've gone way over our allotted time.
Right. Oh, when you get poets talking,
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Clifton pointed out that most phones you can tap and hold to lock the focus so that the camera isn't constantly adjusting. That is true and golden. That is very valuable. Grace, I'm glad that you found this helpful. Thank you so much for being here. I miss you. I'm glad you joined us tonight. Jane, thank you so much for being here. Okay. Wow to you. Please consider submitting poems. Shaka, I love
Sir.
doing workshops with you, my friend.
Man, always. I just love being in the same space as you, my friend, even if it's
Stop it.
virtual.
Oh,
Even if
stop
it's virtual.
Stop it.
You too, Bill.
Oh, it was wonderful seeing you guys. Jane, Grace, do you have any questions you wanted to bring up to Mike or Shaka before we run out of here?
No, I'm cool. I just, I really appreciate the encouragement to jump in and just start experimenting. I needed to hear that.
Good. Well, Grace, Jane, and unfortunately we lost Rebecca already, but thank you guys so much for attending this masterclass and workshop in performance poetry video production. Thank you to Mighty Mike McGee. Thank you to Shaka Campbell. I'd like to say much appreciation for Clifton Gold. He is the one in the background running everything and getting all those posts out, those links. Thank you so much for that. Thanks to Alan Soldalski. He's still here, at least in the background. He's the one who got this evening put together. So much appreciation there. And then I just want to remind Jane and Grace, if you can, tomorrow night, this whole event is continuing. It's the whole San Jose, the 2021 San Jose State University Legacy of Poetry Festival, Closing the Distance, Sheltering and Technologies. And tomorrow night is a great reading. It's presented by Read Magazine, and which is the oldest continuously published college literary magazine west of the Mississippi, by Poetry Center San Jose and Poetry Flash. And it is the Santa Cruz Poet Laureate, Danusha Lamaris, who is great. And then we also have Rodrigo Toscano will be the featured as well with her. And great poets. I'm looking forward to that evening very much. So I hope you'll be in attendance again tomorrow. And so thank you very much.
Jane, to answer your question about receiving a copy of this recording, if I'm not mistaken, the video of this will be maybe in rotation online. I just don't know exactly where that's going to be. The link to the festival itself is now in the chat. So if you want to know more about what's going on and potentially to find recordings of this event, there would likely be information there. It's possible that Clifton or Alan could answer that question better. But either way, you should be able to find recording information there. And because you signed up on through Eventbrite, we have your email. PCSJ, our organization, Poetry Center San Jose, has your email. We could probably share it with you once it's available. Yeah, like Clifton says in the chat, we will share a replay link with the registrants ASAP. So there you go. Woohoo! Thank you, Bill Cazzini. Thank you, Shaka
Bill.
Campbell.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Shaka, Alan, Clifton.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Clifton. Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Jane.
Exactly.
Thanks for being here. I really enjoyed
I love this. This is great. Yeah. This is great. All right, guys. Well, be safe.
Yeah, okay, I lied about all of that. I didn't mean any of it. No, just kidding.
All right, man. Love you guys.
I love you too. Thank you, Shaka. Say hi to the family for us.
I will indeed.